Fellas, I kid you not, this was sincerely one of the hardest lists I've ever had to do when I think about having to rank these fragrances. Seriously, this was really, really hard. I mean, from 10 to 1, we're talking about, in my humble opinion, literally tenths of points that separated my number 10 from my number 1. Tough job. Somebody's got to do it. Now, this might be the hardest thing I think I ever had to do. Let's go. YouTube, what's going on? It's your guy Darian, man. I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I cover fragrances on this channel. I jump into talking a little bit about fashion, give me a little bit about some style tips as well. If you're going to go out there and smell good, why don't you go out there and look good as well? It's my philosophy. So, if you're into that, make sure you hit subscribe. And don't forget, hit the bell icon as well, so whenever I upload a new video, you guys will get notified. So on today, guys, I'm going to be covering off on what I feel are the top 10 fragrances from the, what is called now the lacollectionprivee collection from Christian Dior. Now, they've changed the name at least once or twice. To my knowledge, it was at one time, I think they called it lacollectionprivee, then they changed it to Maison Christian Dior, and now it's back to lacollectionprivee. There's been some fragrances that have been discontinued from the inception of this collection. Some of them they brought back into the collection here recently, but just like any other fragrance brand or whatever you may want to call it, any fragrance company, they go through changes. But at the end of the day, for me, Dior is one of my favorite designer brands. Dior, YSL, and Chanel, I would say, are the top 3 for me, and for great reason. These private collections that they have, and Tom Ford, please don't let me forget that. But these private collections that they have give you an opportunity to get a more creative fragrance in many cases than the typical designer fragrance. And I have found 10 from Dior's lacollectionprivee collection that I feel are 10 of the best for guys, especially guys from this collection. It's my opinion. So if you want to see how I ranked my top 10 Dior lacollectionprivee fragrances, then you know the routine. Keep it locked right here. Let's get it. This was hard, man. Seriously. All jokes aside. I made it.
The Bowtie Fragrance Guy.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. We're going to jump into it. When I do a list this hard, I have to bring my friend. And that's a cup of coffee. So, really quickly, there are 2 fragrances that I want to mention as an honorable mention. And that is one, Oud Ishbahan, which is a rose oud fragrance. Now, I do feel that Oud Ishbahan is a bottle-worthy fragrance, but for me, at the time of my discovering that fragrance, I had already had so many rose oud fragrances that I did not purchase it. When you buy a fragrance directly from the Christian Dior boutique or online, you can typically select samples. And they come in a nice size sample. I wish I had one down here to show you. But I've had many samples of Oud Ishbahan, but it reminds me of other rose oud fragrances in my collection. But if you don't have a lot of rose oud, I would recommend checking out Oud Ishbahan. Now, the second fragrance that I want to do as an honorable mention is Ballade Sauvage. Now, this fragrance is a fig fragrance. I think it's full bottle worthy, but the reason why I did not purchase that fragrance is because it reminds me a lot of YSL Trench. And I already have Trench, so again, that it wasn't in my best interest to, buy Ballade Sauvage as well, because it reminds me so much of Trench. So those are 2 honorable mentions that I do think are bottle worthy. Now, for my top 10. Now, I want to say that from 10 to 1, I love every single last one of these fragrances. I sampled a lot from this collection, and I carefully curated this collection off 10 that I love. Not like, I love all 10 of these. So if my number 10's a 8.8 out of 10, I mean, it goes up to, of course, a 10 out of 10. That's just how close these fragrances are. They're like tenths of a point that separate these, and on any given day, these could change, because I have changed this order about 3 or 4 times in the last 2 or 3 days. So right now, this is where we are. In the 10th spot, again, I love all of these guys, but I'm gonna go with Bois d'Argent. Right, this is iris, cypress, honey, vanilla, and musk. So of all the fragrances I have, this is the most powdery because of the iris note in here. But I absolutely love it. Guys, this fragrance is so unique. There's nothing else that I've smelled that smells like Bois d'Argent. It's a very unique fragrance, and I love the development of it. That opening, as I said, where you get the iris in there primarily, really powdery, and that cypress, that combination of notes gives this very unique combination when it opens up, because it's powdery, but then it's kind of green and a little bit earthy as well when it opens up. The dry down is just magic with that honey vanilla combination, and then the musk here. Again, very unique fragrance, but it smells phenomenal. I mean, I wore it the other day because this whole week I've been wearing nothing but fragrances from this collection. As I kind of prepared for this and really wanted to give a really accurate depiction of how I would rank these fragrances, and I just enjoyed the dry down of this fragrance so much. Man, this is good, guys. You can't go wrong with anything on this list. But for right now, I would just put this in the 10th spot. But that's not saying anything about it being bad at all, because I love this fragrance. This is Bois d'Argent. All right, guys, now coming in the 9th spot. This fragrance was one of my more recent pickups, and this was one of the ones that was discontinued when it first came out. The color of the juice was like a dark green, and I'm talking about Eau Noire. Eau Noire, I think this fragrance is done by Francis Kirkjohn, and this is thyme, sage, lavender, coffee, immortelle, and licorice. Man, you talk about a creative fragrance. At least the combination. Now, it does remind me of some other fragrances, but the combination of the opening and the dry down is very unique. Now, this does remind me somewhat of Sunshine Man from Bois. Now, Eau Noire was released originally with the original. There were 3 original fragrances released by Dior in their private collection. This was one of them, if I'm not mistaken, in 2004. So when it was the green juice, and I'll try to put a picture up here so you can see it. When this was originally released in 2004, that means it was released before Sunshine Man, but they are very, very similar in the dry down. Now, what makes this one way different from Sunshine Man is the opening. Guys, this is one of my favorite dry downs of all of my Dior private collection fragrances. One of my favorite dry downs. The opening is what's going to be a challenge for some folks, because that thyme and sage combination in the opening is very, very, very culinary. It smells like you walked into an Indian restaurant. You know, they cook with the spices they cook within an Indian restaurant, you know, the curry and all this different stuff. That's exactly what the opening of this fragrance smells like. It's very, very spicy in the opening. It lasts for about 10 minutes, then you go into the dry down. And that's when it becomes more of a gourmand scent, more reminiscent of Sunshine Man. And also it kind of reminds me a little bit, because I think there may be lavender in here as well. It reminds me a little bit of Bond No. 9 New Harlem, because New Harlem has that lavender and coffee combination in there as well. But man, what a masterpiece this is. But if I'm ranking them, this would have to be in the 9th spot. So the 9th spot is this one right here, man. Eau Noire. All right, guys, coming in the A spot. It's crazy. I've been running my series that when I talk about my top fragrance notes. One of my favorite notes in fragrances is patchouli. And this is the patchouli fragrance from this collection. This is Patchouli Imperial. Patchouli Imperial. And this fragrance is, of course, patchouli, mandarin orange, coriander, and sandalwood. Now, this fragrance reminds me a little bit of, well, it somewhat reminds me of Chanel fragrance, which is Chanel's Coromandel. And that's something that I'm finding with these private collections from the top, what I would say are one of the top three designer fragrance brands. You have Dior, you have Chanel, and you have YSL. If you look across the collections, their private collections, there are fragrances in each collection that kind of resemble another fragrance from one of the other collections, i.e. this and Coromandel, just for example. And so that's the only reason I put it in the A spot. But I love it. It's an amazing patchouli fragrance. You kind of get this chocolatey, cakey patchouli almost like you get with Coromandel, and that's the thing that kind of tie those two fragrances together. But I wore this the other day, man, and I absolutely love this fragrance. But I'm ranking them, so it has to come in somewhere. But it's an amazing scent, man. The coriander here with the patchouli and the sandalwood. Just seriously, guys, if you like Coromandel, you'll love this one as well. So check it out. This is Patchouli Imperial. Now, you know this list is good if this fragrance comes in the 7th spot. This is called Tobacolor. Tobacolor. Now, this fragrance is tobacco, honey, peach, plum, and incense. And that's what you get, man. This is one you gotta love honey, because the honey in this reminds me of the honey in Back to Black from by Killian. Honey, smoky tobacco because of the incense. And then you have the beautiful combination of plum and peach in here. Oh, this is so good, man. It's so good. And again, you know, you can't go wrong with any of the fragrances on this list, in my humble opinion. It's just about listening to the notes, guys, and kind of figuring out what you may like. But all of them are, you know, at least an 8.5 to 10 in my book. All of these. This is an easy 9 out of 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. So if you love tobacco, you gotta try this, man. Stuff is stunning. Again, smoky tobacco with a beautiful, seductive sweetness and fruitiness from peach and plum, with the smoke on the dry down and honey. That's what you get here. Tobacolor. Coming in the number 6 spot, this is Vanilla Diorama. Vanilla Diorama. What you're gonna get here is orange, rum, cacao, bourbon vanilla, and patchouli. Man, this is so good. This is so good, man. I really don't have words to describe how good this thing is, especially when you put it on your skin. You just got to put it on there and really, let it cook on your skin to understand how good Vanilla Diorama is, right? Just to understand how good this fragrance is, man, I'm telling you, when it opens up, man, you get that orange in there, the rum, gives a slight booziness to this fragrance, but I love the combination of the cacao with the bourbon vanilla in here. Then, of course, when the patchouli comes in, it kind of gives that, what people talk about, that chocolate cakey kind of patchouli because of the cacao vanilla patchouli combination on the dry down. Fantastic. Fantastic. Got to put your nose on it to understand how good this stuff is. In the 6th spot, Vanilla Diorama. All right, guys, when I talk about my top fragrance notes, this fragrance note is now my seventh favorite. It was in my top 6 for a long time. That's the note of sandalwood. And this is their sandalwood fragrance from the collection. This is Santal Noir. Santal Noir, this is Ambre, Turkish rose, sandalwood, musk. And it's not listed as a note, but I pick up a little bit of amber in this fragrance on the dry down. Kind of get an ambery touch on the dry down, the far dry down of this fragrance. But guys, this is a beautiful incensey, kind of smoky, spicy sandalwood fragrance. You get a lot of sandalwood here, and like I said, on the dry down I get some slight, kind of benzoin, ambery kind of touches on the dry down. This stuff is absolutely phenomenal. This is one of those that's been discontinued. It's kind of hard to get your hands on this, but if you like sandalwood, you're gonna love this fragrance. Very unique take on the note of sandalwood. Absolutely love this stuff. That's why it's in the 5th spot. guys check it out if you can get your hands on it. Santal Noir. All right, guys, for me, coming in the fourth spot, this honestly, so far, has been my most complimented Dior lacollectionprivee fragrance. And this one is another one that they discontinued recently, Spice Blend. All right, this is rum, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, and coriander. This is so smooth. It is so smooth. This is one that doesn't really pronounce itself that much. It's a subtle fragrance. And honestly, comparatively speaking to a lot of these, it's probably the worst performer on the list. And that's why it takes a slight knock. I only get about 4 hours of performance out of this one. But man, what a beautiful 4 hours, especially that first 2 hours of wearing this. Again, I've gotten the most compliments on this one. The missus loves this fragrance. It is a very gentlemanly fragrance because it's subtle. The spices here, again, the coriander, and you have nutmeg, cinnamon in here as well. Kind of gives like an allspice kind of feel to it, what you would find with like pomelo. What you would find with pimento, which is an allspice, like you would have smelled in Hypnotizing Fire. Kind of has that same kind of spicy appeal here. And it's just phenomenal, guys. Seriously. What a gentlemanly fragrance. There's a slight bit of sweetness here, just the right amount of sweetness. It's not a playful sweet, but a sexy sweet. There's a difference. And this is a sexy fragrance, man. Very versatile. You can dress it up or dress it down, but when you combine all those spices with that booziness from the rum, it's just perfect. Perfect for a gentleman. It's in the fourth spot, but guys, this thing is absolutely fantastic. This is Spice Blend. These top three fragrances for me are separated 10 out of 10, 9.9, 9.8. That's how close these are. But man, and this is kind of the unicorn. This is really hard to get now, but the third spot goes to Mitzah. Mitzah. This is cardamom, cinnamon, rose, honey, amber, and patchouli. Honestly, to me, Mitzah is kind of a combination of several of these fragrances. I get a little bit of Ambre Nuit in here. I get a little bit of vanilla Diorama, a little bit of Tobacolor. I mean, it's kind of really, again, a combination of all of the fragrances. And man, how good this is. I really don't have the words for it. Again, this is kind of hard to get now because it's discontinued, and the only size bottle I found it in was this big. This is a bigger bottle. I don't know if you guys can notice that here on screen, but this is a big, 6.8 ounces. So I'll have it for a long time, hopefully. But it's so good. I heard a lot about it. It's as good as it's been advertised. There is something here in the opening that's a little bit, a slight bit of skankiness. I don't know what it comes from, because if you look at the note breakdown, you don't see any cumin in here or civet or any of those notes that would be slightly skanky. So I'm not sure what it comes from, but it's just very slight. But it's not off-putting by any means. I just want to mention that because I don't see any notes that would resemble what I'm getting here. But guys, this is so freaking good. At the end of the day, it's an amber fragrance, a kind of smoky, incensey kind of amber fragrance. And I absolutely love it. It may be coming from the honey. I don't know. It may be coming from the honey, but this is so good. The top three was so hard to rank, man. But if you catch me tomorrow, this might be number one. That's all I'm saying. So right now, I'm gonna give it number 3. This is so freaking phenomenal. Mitzah. And if you guys know me, you probably know what 2 fragrances I haven't talked about yet, but you're about to hear about them. I'll talk the most about these 2, so it won't be a surprise. The number 2 spot, Feve Delicieuse. Tonka bean, vanilla, praline, caramel, cacao, and sandalwood. There's cherry in here as well. You get that in the opening. Like I always say when I describe this fragrance, just if you love gourmands, you gotta experience this, guys. I've talked a lot about the last couple of weeks and how it's been discontinued. There's another option out there, Frenetic Delicieuse, which will give you, definitely put you in the ballpark here. Still not quite Feve, but it's close. But this is so good, man. Again, if you like gourmands, this is your dream come true. Everything that is normally put into a gourmand fragrance, note-wise is in here. Pralines here, vanilla's here, cherries here. You get where I'm going with this. Cacao. Phenomenal gourmand fragrance. 9.9. Really, it's a 10 out of 10, but you know, who's counting? Just like I said, these top 3 could go either way. For right now, I'll give it the number 2 spot. Feve Delicieuse. So the number 1 fragrance from the Christian Dior lacollectionprivee collection. Right now, we go to Ambre Nuit. Ambre Nuit, this is rose, ambergris, and patchouli. What can I say? When you see a list like this, I put this number 1, you gotta know how good this fragrance is. It's something you gotta smell for yourself, guys. Seriously, you gotta smell it for yourself. This is a little bit fresher. The amber in here kind of reminds me of the amber in Mitzah. That's why when I said Mitzah kind of reminds me of a few other fragrances from this collection. But the amber in here is a little bit fresher. All right, it's a little bit fresher than what you get from Mitzah. To me, giving it a little bit more versatility. That's the only justification I have for putting it number 1. But scent DNA wise, it's really hard to, would be really hard to rank those top 3. But for right now, I've talked about this one a lot, so I won't talk as much about it. But it goes to this one, guys. Ambre Nuit. But that is it, guys. That is my time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any fragrances from the lacollectionprivee collection of Christian Dior, what are some of your favorites? I would love to hear from you down in the comment section. And as always, I sincerely appreciate your time and attention to these videos. I know you don't have to watch, but you do, and I sincerely appreciate that. Now don't forget to take a few moments to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you are sharing these videos out to some other folks that you think could use the information or find it entertaining. Because I'm your guy, Darren. I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side.